Collins. I'm with ICAT Consulting, and we're going to talk with you today. I'm going to spend about a couple of minutes just talking about the concept of a resume, what the components of a good resume look like. John's going to talk with you about the important conversation, assuming your resume worked, on the interview process and how to get ready to do that. I want to start by asking a question first. Would any of you go into a restaurant where the paint was peeling, there were boxes in front of the door, and two little bulbs were out on the neon sign at the bottom? You probably wouldn't go in there, would you? So what does that have to do with resumes? You got 2.5 to 20 seconds of time on the street called recruitment for someone to decide whether they're going to invest any more of their energy in you as a person. And they're going to use your resume to make that decision. They're going to use your resume to decide if they're going to invest any more energy in you. So we're going to talk a little bit about what a resume might look like. And we want to start by talking about there are two components to or two parts of a resume that you want to be interested in. And if you want to follow along with me on page 3 of your handout, we want to talk about the content and the design. Certainly the content is the most important, you know, but the design is what gets you noticed. It's that front page, it's that front of the building, if you will, that's going to make the decision whether anybody's going to go ahead and read the material. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about, and I'm just going to talk because of the time, just talk about the 7 primary components of the resume, starting on page 5, I think it is in your book. Actually, page 4, the bottom of page 4. First is the header. The most important part of the header is accuracy and appearance. What you're putting in there is your name, your address, although there is some debate these days whether your address really needs to go in there anymore because of things like identity theft and that sort of thing. Folks are sometimes hesitant to put that in. But what we've got is, sometimes it's a requirement, so you have to make the decision of whether you really want to apply for that company if they require it or not. So you have to put your name, your address, your phone number, your email, and one of the things we always talk with folks about is the email. Find a new email if your current one is something that your wife or husband or kids thought was cute. Hotbabe.com. You don't want that in your email. Find one, and it's easy enough to make a second. You don't have to give up your old one, but you want to create a new one. So you need to get them to know who you are. Then in the first 1 or 2 lines, you need to let folks know in the objective what kind of job you're looking for. And so one of the things we're talking about is don't use fluffy language like, I want to work for the world's best company and do the best thing I can do. And, we use a lot of that fluffy language because, I've never heard of anyone, as we put in the materials, wanting to seek a boring job in a pathetic company where I can sit and grow old. Folks don't usually put that in. They really want to talk about, you want to be able to have the information that in that first couple of seconds, the folks who are reading it will know exactly what you're looking for. Then you want to put in a summary of experience. Summary of experience is usually used for folks who have a lot of experience and a lot of skills that they've accumulated over time. Excuse me. And so in just 2 or 3 sentences, you want to put your entire employment history in there. And what you might want to put in there is 10 years in healthcare and managed an office of 22. Something that's very simple, straightforward. And then, in number 4, you want to put your employment history. You want to highlight your accomplishments with the most recent first. The most recent first. It's actually a reverse chronological order. You start at the back, start at the most recent, and work backwards. And most folks suggest that these days you only go back 10 or 12 years in your resume, and then you can put a summary statement of additional information if you want to do that later on. And then you'll move to your education, the most significant first. You put in there the name of the degree, the major, the name and location of the school. You can, if you did really good in your grades, you can put the GPA, or if you graduated magna cum laude, you can put that in. And then there's this miscellaneous area where we would want you to put anything in there that has any special abilities. If you speak a foreign language fluently, for example, you would put that in there. If you're a computer programmer or you have some basic computer skills. Any civic or community work that might catch the eye of someone. If you were the president of the Chamber of Commerce or the chair of the local cancer society, that sort of thing, we put that in there. And then any professional affiliations that might relate to the position. Remember that these folks were reading your resume, have a specific need that they're trying to fill. And so you just don't want to put a list of everything you've ever done. You want to focus those things right on the job that you're applying for, as opposed to everything you've ever done. So you need to write that in a very pointed and specific manner. And then if you are a veteran, absolutely put that in. Many organizations are required, and some do have veterans preference, and so they need to know that you're a veteran. And then lastly, references. Don't put them in. We don't recommend that you list all those references. What you would want to do is bring to the interview a list of references in case they ask, and make sure that you've touched base with the folks beforehand. They have a copy of your resume in their hands, so when someone calls and says, "Do you know Gary?" They'll be able to talk specifically to the things that you put in your resume, and so they'll know what it is that you've got. And then lastly, on the very, I think it's page 7. If you take a quick look at some of those things that drive folks crazy who are recruiters, don't put the word resume on the top. Forget about accenting the E. Everybody knows it. Don't put any of your salary information in there, or your requests. Now, some places, especially if you're putting your resume online, some organizations ask for your salary requirements, and it's a required field. And if you don't put something in there, it kicks it out. So you have to decide, if you're going to provide that, what it is that you're actually looking for, what your history was, or decide you don't want to apply for to that organization, because that'll be a call that you'll have to make. Don't put the full addresses of your employers. That drives people nuts. Remember, they're trying to read these in 2.5 to 20 seconds. Don't put the reasons for leaving. One person one time say, "The reason I left is they stopped paying me." It's just what it is. Don't put your personal statistics, easy for me to say, personal statistics, because nobody really cares that you're 5'7" and have been married for 26 years. Not kind of information. Plus, some of that gets real close to being kind of information that puts you in a place where they might not want to talk to you because they now know that information, because they're concerned with some kind of discrimination. Don't ever put your picture, obviously, on a resume, and never put your social security number on there. Now, some places ask for it. Again, you have to make that call. I'm done with 5 minutes.
Thanks so much.
Any questions of anything we talked about so far?
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I've had a lot of jobs.